So I don't know if you guys know this, but this champion over here on my left, he's pretty decent. Hey guys, what's going on? BMcG here, and today we're here to talk about my Rank 3 Beta Ray Bill. We're going to be doing a full comprehensive showcase, showing him off in Realm of Legends. I don't think I have any Battlegrounds this time around, I'm sorry about that guys, but we will have Alliance War content, we'll have story content, and we will also have 2 Necropolis solos, because this dude is an absolute powerhouse in long form content. But before we get too far into this video, if you guys do enjoy it at any point, consider hitting the like button and subscribing if you aren't already. It helps grow the channel, and you know, if you have any thoughts on Beta Ray Bill or this video, because I've made some changes to how I'm doing things, comment down below. I love reading comments. I read every single one of them, and you know, I might respond if it's a cool conversation. But back to Beta Ray Bill. So we are starting today's showcase off in Realm of Legends against Captain Marvel. So I'm gonna start off by saying that this is not supposed to be a guide, this is supposed to be a showcase. If you guys want to learn how to play Beta Ray Bill, you can keep watching this video. You might be able to pick up some things and, you know, use that in your play style and learn from it that way. But if you want an actual guide, check out the guide in the pinned comment. It's by my buddy Simula67. He makes great guides on characters and also like the story boss characters that we fight. But he made one on Beta Ray Bill, which I think was really good, and I recommend watching it if you want to learn how to use him or if you don't know how to use him, because I'm going to just assume that you guys know how his kit works in this, and I just want to showcase what he can do with his kit. I'm going to explain some things as we go, but this is just a general feeler of his damage, and his damage is it's very good. Like that's like some really good damage there. Yeah, he is an absolute powerhouse. They listed him as a 5 out of 5 damage dealer when they released him, and I think he hits that mark very, very, very nicely. So this is something that's been highly requested by a lot of viewers who watch my showcases, and this is kind of a relic guide for the champion that I'm showcasing. Kind of mad at myself for not implementing this sooner, but hey, feedback is great from you guys, and I will always try to use it if possible. So Beta Ray Bill is not that complicated for relics. I mean, he specifically calls out a relic in his kit, and that's the Thor relic. He gains a flat 25% buff potency increase from having the Thor relic equipped, and this is really cool because it's the first champion who specifically says, I want that relic equipped on me. The awesome thing about this though is that Beta Ray Bill doesn't actually benefit too much from the abilities on the relic itself, which you might be thinking, that's kind of weird, why would he want it? This is a great way for you to use your 3-star or 4-star Thor relic on a champion who just gets a flat benefit from having the relic. You can save your better relics for other characters because the vigor buff from the Thor relic increases damage from all sources when you have an indefinite fury buff, and Beta Ray Bill does not have access to this vigor buff. Champions like Vox, Angela, Odin, they have access to it, and it drastically increases their damage. So you can save your higher rarity relics for those specific champions, and then throw the 3-star relic on Beta Ray Bill because he doesn't gain access to the vigor buff anyways, and the 3-star doesn't have the vigor ability anyways. So you can just throw that on Beta Ray Bill and get that massive buff potency increase and save your good relics for other characters who need it more. And honestly, Beta Ray Bill doesn't need any help with damage whatsoever. All this footage you're seeing is unawakened Beta Ray Bill. He does not need his awakened ability, but at Sig 200, he gains 40% more potency on his personal damage bursts. I think that's the number, which means like an 800,000 burst would then be like 1.1, 1.2 million, which is just nuts. So save the relic for other characters who could benefit from it more, the higher rarity relics, and give him the 3-star because, you know, he doesn't need the relic. He needs a relic, but just not a high rarity relic is what I'm trying to get at. So this is the Alliance War portion of the showcase, and I think this is where Beta Ray Bill is really going to shine because he's got a lot of general utility baked into his kit, and it really shines on the Alliance War map. For some context, I play in Tier 1 of Alliance War. I am constantly trying to battle for the top 20 masters, and some of this footage that I'm going to be showing you guys, it will have boosts, some of it won't. Boost generally don't matter here, because you will see some of the footage here where I'm not boosted. Special 2 and Special 1 kills just the same. So don't worry about boosts too much if you never boost for war. I boost for war when it's not off season because we are trying to fight for top 20. But this is path 1 in section 1, and this is masochism over time. So essentially when you inflict the defender with a debuff, they will purify it, and then they will gain a regeneration buff. And then there's also a node here that makes them go unblockable while they have a regeneration buff active. So the really cool thing about Beta Ray Bill here is that all his effects are passive. When he removes this armor from Guardian, it's not an armor break, it's a pulverize. It's huge, so you don't have to deal with this unblockable here. And the pulverize allows you to get rid of Guardian's armor, which means no auto block on specials, and his signature ability is completely ignored because Guardian normally has very high energy resistance. But when he doesn't have that armor up buff, he doesn't have it. And, you know, Beta Ray Bill, he does a lot of energy damage, so it works out nicely for you to be able to remove that armor up buff. Next up, we have Iron Man Infinity War. I believe this is node 38, which is Ebb and Flow Knockdown. There's also Aggression Prowess, and I believe Iron Man Infinity War will go immune to debuffs on Knockdown. So a really cool showcase here again of how everything in Beta Ray Bill's kit is passive. So the debuff immunity kicked in here. We still have our shock passive on Iron Man Infinity War, which means we are going to be able to just fully cook the way we normally do and not have to worry about anything. When Ebb and Flow Knockdown goes back into protection, we don't lose our shock passives because they're passives, not debuffs. So this allows us to just completely ignore most of these nodes here. I forgot that he goes debuff immune once this happens. So yeah, we took a little bit of combo damage. It's not a big deal. And right there, the protection kicked in just in time for us to not get the full benefit from our shocks expiring during our special 1. But we will get it here. We drop the special 1. And one thing that I'm noticing a lot of people do is wait too long to use their special 1. You can throw it when there's like 60% duration left on your shock passives, and they'll be able to expire before that final hit of the special 1. Next up, we've got Arcade. I believe this is node 45. This is Hazard Shift, Shock, Bleed. There's Conflictor and Crumbling Armor. So this is a really cool showcase of Beta Ray Bill's resistances and immunities. He's immune to shock, and he also has 50% resistance to bleed and poison. If you don't know, Arcade likes to inflict poison debuffs if you let him complete his heavy attack. You'll see that here, but I don't get poison debuffs inflicted on me. We're also 50% bleed resistant, so we're not going to be taking full damage from these bleeds. It's something you're going to want to pay attention to because deep wounds is a factor in Alliance War defense. And, he's not fully resistant to these, so he's not going to really cap the damage too much, but it's enough to where you can play around it and be safe. Right there, I love using the heavy attack. I love doing the heavy charge. It's such a fun mechanic. But yeah, we did the heavy charge into special 2 there, and we're pretty much good to go. For those who don't know how to fight Arcade, you don't want him to complete his full heavy attack. He'll put that poison gas trap thing down, and then you also don't want him throwing a special 1 because he'll place the poison gas thing. You want to bait special 2s and dex the last hit of the special 2. That will prevent him from getting tokens, and the tokens are his currency for his crazy auto block that he has. But we absolutely nuke this guy. Again, there was Conflictor there. A lot of Beta Ray Bill's stuff that he does is passive, so you don't really have to worry about Conflictor triggering unless you're parrying. Next up, we have Penny Parker on path 8 in section 1. This was during the Clarity and House of Mirrors saga, I believe. And Beta Ray Bill was absolutely amazing as a Clarity attacker, but we only had him for like the last half of the season, for like the last season of the tactic, meaning we didn't get to use him all too much, as a tactic attacker. But one thing that I do want to point out is our Clarity meter there is at 9, meaning we need one more hit or one more buff to push us over and get the Clarity passive. So we're just trying to wait for her to use her special 1, and she finally does. Now I'm going to heavy charge and see how we immediately got the Clarity passive. That's one really cool thing about Beta Ray Bill, is that he's got super easy access to buffs. He gains those 5 energize, and if you use your special 2 while you're doing the heavy charge thing to get those 5 energize, you'll have them paused. So he works really well for stuff like buffed up, rich get richer, which I'll be showing later in this video. But yeah, that was Penny Parker just absolutely nuked. So those were some really good showings of, you know, where he really excels in Alliance War. We've got, I think, 2 more fights where he kind of excels, and then the next few are going to be kind of rougher ones. But this is Iron Man on Path 9 in Section 2. This is Hazard Shift, Shock, and Bleed, as well as One Eye Open. This is again in the House of Mirrors Clarity meta. So again, this is another really cool thing about Beta Ray Bill. We're easily building up and getting that Clarity passive when we charge our heavy to counter his heavy, because we're gaining all those buffs. And yeah, it's just an all-around fun time using this guy. His heavy attack animation is honestly probably my favorite heavy animation in the entire game. The heavy charge is just so cool. Like, it's an absolute blast to use this guy and do that. But we have 6 shock passives on Iron Man now. Now we just need to melt this dude down. We bait 1 special 1 here, and now we just need for this guy to, you know, drop his heavy attack. We go in here, drop our special 1, and that should end it, and it does. So yeah, Iron Man Infinity War, I think this is a rank 3 down in a minute in Alliance War, which is really, really solid. Next up, we've got Killmonger on Path 2, Path 2 in Section 1. And again, this is another showing of why Beta Ray Bill having passive effects in his kit is really useful. I was originally assigned Onslaught for this fight, just a little side note, and Onslaught would make Killmonger's power gain just go absolutely crazy. Whereas I don't really have to worry about Killmonger's power gain in this fight because I'm not going to be parrying this guy, and my shocks are passive, so I'm never really going to trigger any of his crazy stuff that goes on. I do make some mistakes in this fight, and we'll get to those in a few, but they could have easily been fixed if I did a couple of things. So right here, I didn't want to bait that special 1 because he gains the counter punches, and then I get cornered. What I should have done was use a heavy attack early on before I did the buff pause. That way I could counter his counter punch without him going unstoppable, because our grit buff would ignore it. We gain a grit on our second hit of our heavy attack. But we dropped the special 1 again, or special 2 again, so we have all those shocks. Now we just need to do a full 5-hit combo, striker, another combo into a special 1, and that is all she wrote. So yeah, we messed up, but that could have been a lot cleaner, and I think it's generally a really good fight for Beta Ray Bill. He's a solid Killmonger counter because he doesn't require, you know, critical hits to, you know, take down the champion. He has all that red damage to take him down. So now we're getting into the portion of the video where these fights, you know, you can do with Beta Ray Bill, but they're not like the top fights that you want to take him to. These are kind of where you're like stretching his kit to make him work when he really shouldn't. He's like not a top option for these fights. So this path here is Path 6 in Section 2. So the biggest issue here that we're going to face is that Prowler is going to be gaining a bunch of energy resistance. I think it's every time we inflict a shock, which is just going to completely destroy our damage here. If we go for the special 3 and get the resonance buff, which makes all of our hits do energy damage, you know, it's really not going to do too much, because if we inflict Prowler with a shock, he's going to get the energy resistance, and that energy resistance is just going to, you know, completely slow down our damage. So yeah, we're just going to have to try to rely on doing, you know, maximum damage here with our Fury buffs that we get from our special 1. Our special 2, when we did the intercept thing with the heavy charge, that allowed us to have the buff pause active. So now all we need to do is just loop some special 1s, get those Fury buffs going, and we're going to be able to chew through this guy's health pool because our basic hits are going to be dealing a lot of damage. So we have those 2 Fury buffs, and we're going to be dealing a lot of damage, like I said. But I'm dropping the special 1 because I think that's enough to kill him, and it is. He didn't have a lot of energy resistance up left, and we were able to get him down. I think this was an off-season war, so it's not a huge deal if I died. But yeah, next up we've got Mole Man, and this one should be pretty obvious. Mole Man is shock immune. but there is a way to make this work and make it work pretty well. We're obviously using Beta Ray Bill here, and we're going to go for the special 3 loop. The special 3, like I said in the previous match, even though I didn't show it, inflicts a resonance buff on Beta Ray Bill, meaning all of our attacks deal extra energy damage, per hit. And Mole Man, I believe, does not have good energy resistance. He actually might be in the negatives from what I remember, because he's more of a physical resistance based champion, which makes sense. He's a mole, and moles live in the ground, which doesn't really have a lot of energy flowing through it. So yeah, we baited this special 2 from Mole Man, and now we can go for the special 3. That heavy charge was pointless there, but I love doing it just to do it. But yeah, we dropped the special 3. This is going to give us that nice buff. Watch his health bar immediately after the special 3. Watch how much the special 3 does, and boom. The special 3 does extra damage because we have that resonance buff, meaning our special 3 is going to hit super hard all the time, because you'll always have that buff once you use the special 3, unless there's ways that can remove it or prevent it. But yeah, like that's some really solid damage. 10,000 basic attacks when we crit with the resonance buff. So honestly, not an ideal match, but we made it work there, and his kit has ways for you to make that fight work. This is a fight that I think a lot of people are going to try and realize that he can't do. This is path 3 in section 1, and there is electric defense. Every time you strike the opponent while they are under the benefit of an armor up buff, they will power burn you. Power burn. And Beta Ray Bill is immune to power drain, not power burn. A lot of people seem to confuse the two. I heard some people in videos mention that he is immune to power burn, and that's just not true. I understand why we would think that, because like almost every single Cosmic Champion that gets released, they're power burn immune. I think it would have eaten up too much power in his power budget to give it to him. I think that's probably why they didn't give it to him, because he already has so much utility and damage. They just don't want to create some overpowered champion. But yeah, I wanted to try this and see if this fight would work. This is a rank 3 Beta Ray Bill. I believe I'm not running boosts, and this is a rank 3 Captain America Sam Wilson. So it's an equal matchup. It's not like we're punching down on some 6-star rank 4. Like, this is the highest you'll ever see Captain America Sam Wilson right now. It's an equal match, and we're not boosted. So we did get lucky on a lot of these armor up triggers, but Beta Ray Bill is pulverizing this armor up, with our first medium attack, and it's allowing us to deal some extra damage here, but also get rid of the armor up so we don't keep taking the power burn. And if we do get power burn, it's not a huge deal, because we're gonna take some damage like we saw here, but it's a doable fight, but I wouldn't do it. It's not something I would do if my alliance, if my officers for Alliance War assign me this. I'd be like, hey guys, what are we doing here? Like, are we trying to throw this war? Because one mistake and you don't win that race to 0%. Next up, we've got Path 8 in Section 2, and this is Rich Get Richer. They placed a bullseye here. So what we did here was Dex, so we trigger the precision from Dexterity, and that fuels our power on, Rich Get Richer. So we will be gaining power while, Bullseye is not. We're hitting his block just to maintain spacing on the field here. We don't want to get cornered, but right here we charge the heavy, and now all we need to do is just intercept him, and we get that nice intercept. Special 2 is perfectly going to push him to a bar of power. Bullseye is a good guy and throws a special 1. Now all we need to do is wait for his Killer Instinct to go on cooldown, and now we just get to drop special 1s and have a good time. The first 2 special 1s are not going to trigger the energy burst from the shocks expiring, because we're just gaining so much power from Rich Get Richer. But this next special 1 will, and we already have the 2 Fury buffs ready to go. So once we drop the special 1 again, here we go. 3 Fury buffs, that's the most you can get, and boom. It was 200 something thousand damage. Like, that is really, really solid in my opinion. And yeah, he cooked. So now we're getting to the fun part of the video, and that's PvE content. Good old story content, nice and relaxing. No alliance rewards on the table, so if you die, not a huge deal. But you don't want to die in story mode. You want to have an efficient path clear, and Beta Ray Bill will bring that to you. So I believe this is in Act 8.4, the latest story content as of the recording of this video. And there are some really fun nodes here and some decent matchups that I wanted to show you guys here. The main one here being Mr. Sinister. Like I said in all the other Alliance War fights before, Beta Ray Bill having passive damage over time, it's pretty beneficial. Mr. Sinister, if he spams special ones here, yes, he would put the degen on us from his, bleed thing that he does. But, he wouldn't be immediately dropping those degens on us from our shocks because our shocks are passive. He can't reflect our shocks. So yeah, just cool things that Beta Ray Bill does. I think it was such a smart decision to make his shocks passive, because if they weren't, I honestly don't think he would have been nearly as useful as he is. I actually don't know if he would have been... I don't even think I would have ranked him up, if we're being completely honest, because he just wouldn't have worked for so many things. But yeah, I do think the shocks alone are a big enough weakness that having him as passive is okay, but it's not a huge deal. No one cares about my balanced opinions, but yeah, this is an absolute cook here, as Andrew the Rough would say. We're absolutely melting this dude's health down. And Mr. Sinister, he does like to regenerate when we trigger our critical hits, but it's not a huge deal because most of what we do comes in the form of red numbers. It does help that our yellow numbers are very strong and very large once we get those fury buffs going, but it's not like our main source of damage. It's a nice secondary, maybe even third source of damage, because Pulverize deals a lot of damage, and our Special 3 Resonance buff also allows us to deal a lot of damage. Right here, we're getting some just absolutely ridiculous shock RNG building our way up to our Special 2. So we drop the heavy charge here, intercept with Special 2, and that's going to get us 9 shock passives on Black Panther. And we've got them we got them refreshed with the Special 2. Now we just need to drop the Special 1, make them expire, and I think we're going to do that while we have this Fury passive from the node. We're immune to the shocks, so we get that nice Fury passive, and boom, that was a significant amount of damage. Yeah, that was probably one of the faster fights that we have in story content here. Lastly on this path, we have iHulk. And I wanted to show you guys this fight for a few reasons. One being that our red numbers will bypass iHulk's gamma storage, or his health storage. When iHulk loses health, he stores some of it as gamma. Most champions who don't have red numbers will make iHulk go immortal unless they have defensive ability accuracy reduction. But Beta Ray Bill has red numbers, so the damage that we deal through the red numbers, iHulk's not going to store that as gamma. So once he gets down to 1%, if he has less than 15 gamma, he would die. He wouldn't go immortal. And that's what's going to happen in this fight here. But yeah, I'm going to show you guys that I do make some mistakes. Right there, our Intimidate and Infuriate window, the period between those two, iHulk didn't care for it, and he wanted to fight us. So push us to our Special 3, which, again, not a huge deal because the Special 3 gives us that resonance buff and allows us to deal extra damage on every single hit. But the thing here is that you generally want to get to your Special 2 before that resonance buff goes away, so you can pause it and then have it active for the rest of the fight. But as you guys can see here, we're not near our Special 2, and that buff is long gone. So yeah, it was a wasted Special 3. So we're just gonna set ourselves back up for success, get to that Special 2 again. This time I am not going to let myself go red, meaning once we get the Special 1 out of iHulk, we're gonna do the heavy charge, because if he hits us, he's not going to push us red. I don't want to have to watch another Special 3. So we get the 5 Intensify, now we need the Intercept, and we get it. We are able to refresh 1 shock, so we have 5 total shocks, and now we just need to start cooking. You know, I'm using Cook a lot because I was watching Andrew the Ruff stream earlier. If you guys don't know who he is, check him out. He's an awesome guy. But we dropped the special 1 here, get that really strong energy burst, and now we just need to do one more special 1, and then this fight is pretty much wrapped up. So yeah, I think Beta Ray Bill is an excellent quester because, you know, questing content generally doesn't have like the absolute top meta defenders in them. Champs like Onslaught, Serpent, Bullseye, these are champs that Beta Ray Bill would kind of struggle with in Battlegrounds, but they're not really going to be seen too often in story content, so Beta Ray Bill is going to shine. So next up we've got Viv Vision from Spring of Sorrow, and this is one of those fights that based on the nodes you might not think that Beta Ray Bill would be an absolute top option for, because there are a lot of things that could slow any champion down if we're being completely honest, but Beta Ray Bill just absolutely demolishes this fight. I think he was my favorite champion to use for this fight. The next favorite champion I had was Overseer because he turned off just a lot of the stuff that Viv would do. But yeah, we get that heavy charge going, and that power gain that we're getting from being immune to power drain is just absolutely huge for this fight here, because we're going to be able to go straight back up to another special 2, get 9 shots. We still have 19 hits left on our buff pause, mind you. So I don't think we're gonna do 19 hits, because this fight is pretty much over with now. We've got 9 shock passives on Viv Vision, meaning all we gotta do is drop some special 1s. So first special 1 here, let's see what it does. Looks like almost half of her health is gone, and we've got that Fury buff now, meaning our next burst of damage is going to be that much stronger, meaning I think that she's going to be pretty much done once we use this next special 1 here. So we fully dex the special 1 here, it's unblockable, and we drop that special 1 of our own, and boom, she is gone. So one of those fights that has just a plethora of nodes and he counters pretty much all of them, and it's just an absolute blast. Tons of damage, and you know, you could play slow and not do a lot of hits and still have amazing results. Next up, we are starting to dive into Necropolis, and this is Nimrod from Necropolis. The next fight is Red Goblin. I figured I'd include it in this video even though I posted it earlier. If you guys have already seen it, then hey, you don't have to stick around and watch it. But this Nimrod fight is a really, really, really good fight. It's one of my favorite Necropolis fights I've ever done because Beta Ray Bill counters pretty much everything that Nimrod does here. Like the special lock, we're not immune to it, but how prevalent is that really in what we're doing here? It's not, is what I'm trying to get at. I dropped the special 1 there just so we could refresh some of those shocks and get that first Fury buff. And now all we need to do is get to our special 2, which we do, and we get the heavy charge, and now we are just starting to cook. We've got that grit buff to counter Nimrod's Unstoppable. We've got 20 hits left on our buff pause, and I don't think we go the rest of the fight without a Fury buff. That's how easy this fight is if you know how to manage everything that Beta Ray Bill has in his kit. So those shocks are about ready for us to drop our special 1, and we don't, because we're going for the special 2. Get more of them shocks up. We drop all of our hits left in our buff pause. That allows us to get a brand new buff pause, and that is 11 shocks on Nimrod. I'm not sure if we end up going for another special 2, because the benefits of having one more shock, I don't see the benefit. But yeah, now we're at the point where we are not going to have an instance where there are no Fury buffs on us for the rest of this fight. We are able to properly manage our pause and our shock refreshes to where we're fully ramped this whole fight. We don't have to re-ramp, and that is absolutely amazing. So yeah, this is one of those edge cases where you know, we can be fully ramped the whole time, and it's not very common that you have a fight like this where you could just say, screw it, I'm fully ramped and I'm just going full god mode. There are only 2, and I think it's Nimrod and Future Ant-Man, maybe even Viv Vision, But if there's not easy access to power drain for you to, you know, exploit your immunity for it, you are not really going to be, you know, fully ramped. I'll show you guys that in the next Necropolis solo, which is Red Goblin. But like I'm showing here, we got that buff pause on those 3 Furies, and it's just going to allow us to, you know, absolutely nuke this guy. We're fully ramped the whole fight. I keep saying that, but it's like, I want to reiterate how strong that is. Like, being fully ramped for this whole fight is huge. It's like an 8 million health pool opponent, and we're never going to lose our ramp, which I think is just wildly strong. And you can time your specials nicely to where you are able to get the power gain from the power drain immunity. So when we drop this next special one, if we throw it while he has the Blitz protocol active, we would have gotten the power gain, but we threw it when he was in Titan. But yeah, there's 41% health left. I think this is 3 more special ones, which is just great. The Energize on Nimrod is actually very beneficial for us because it allows us to get easy access to punishing his special attacks. So yeah, that was, I think, 11% health that we just did there. We go for a full 5-hit combo, so it pushes us over 2 bars of power. Go for the special 1 decks, we keep getting hit. Not a huge deal because there's a lot of willpower healing in this fight. We go for the special 2 to get the buff pause again, and then we refresh our shocks. So this right here, I believe, is 2 special 1s left, and then the fight is over with. If we have the grit buff active, we can allow us to, you know, push Nimrod to our his special 2, but generally it's just easier to bait special 1s because if you're good on the special 1 decks, unlike me, you'll be able to get an easy punish in, whereas Nimrod's special 2 creates so much distance that you can't safely punish it. But yeah, this fight is over with. We just need to drop our next special 1 here. We slow our combo, so we drop the special 1 and he's gone. Full yellow bar finish despite getting hit numerous times because willpower is an amazing mastery. And yeah, that was 4.5 minutes for an Necropolis solo, which is very fast, guys. Like, that's really good stuff there. Lastly, we've got Red Goblin here, and this is one of those Necropolis fights that he works for, but he's not the greatest option for. We don't have any power drain that we could really manipulate here. I believe Red Goblin does have power drain on a special 2 and heavy if he has the Energize buff active, but we're not going to be eating heavy attacks and eating special 2s because we'd likely die if we did that. So the game plan here is just going to be manage our shocks and make sure we never lose our shocks because it's a lot harder to get those shocks back up. And then we are going to go for 2 special 1s and then a special 2, and then 2 special 1s and then a special 2. We did bring some synergies. We are boosted here just to make it a bit easier on ourselves. A couple people commented on the original posting of this video that I did, saying that I should have used my special 2 when I was just under a special 3. And while that generally is a good, you know, thing to do, one, I don't want to get hit while I'm charging my heavy attack and have Red Goblin push me red. That would be very annoying, and I just don't want to deal with it. Second, Red Goblin has these things called those Bloodlust charges, and the Bloodlust charges, they prevent you from gaining maximum power on your basic hits, so your combat power rate gets reduced, which means it's going to be a lot harder to be looping special attacks. So what I like to do is, you know, just use my specials when I can because, you know, spacing is a huge deal in this fight, and I want to maximize my time away from Red Goblin because the Bloodlust charges will really slow us down. Another thing that I'm doing here is not punishing the special 1. The special 1, if I punish with a medium attack, I would immediately chew through a bunch of the duration left on my shock passives, meaning I might not be able to refresh them if I go in for, you know, a medium punish. That's also why I'm going for the special 2s when I get them, just so I can safely refresh these with my special 2. I don't want to lose these shock passes, because if I lose the shock passes, I don't solo the fight. That's the truth. So yeah, these shock passes are just past halfway now. They're a quarter way left, and boom, really solid damage. Keep saying solid damage. Someone's gonna comment, like shot challenge, take a shot every time I say something. I still love that comment thread that the one dude started where Chieelth would come and heal us if we did the shot challenge. I just thought that was so funny. But yeah, once you get Beta Ray Bill set up, it's generally easy to keep him going. These heavy attacks here are to create spacing, as well as to maximize our combat power rate on a certain hit. So we do a light into a heavy attack. That allows us to, gain more power. We also have the Energize buff active, which means extra combat power rate. So yeah. Also, when you knock down the opponent, they tend to be more aggressive and they tend to throw more special attacks. So it acts as like a mini taunt, I guess, at least from my testing. But yeah, we are going to have 3 Fury buffs for these next 2 special ones, which is really awesome, because that will really increase our damage and speed up this fight here. We're barely going to need the second set of Necropolis charges here. So yeah, there's really not much else to say about this video and about this fight, because it's all pretty much self-explanatory once we've gotten to this point. So I'm gonna start going down and down the rabbit hole of closing remarks. So like I said in the beginning of the video, if you guys did enjoy this video and you've gotten this far, let's think of something fun to comment. I would say I would pin the funniest comment, but I've already said I would pin Simula 67's Beta Ray build guide. Comment Thorse, 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 because he's Horse Thor. If you've made it this far, I guess. But yeah, if you guys liked it, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Because it's 37 minutes into the video, and if you haven't already subscribed and you're still here, you must be enjoying it somewhat. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything that sounds better than listening to me ramble for 37 minutes about a bunch of pixels on my screen, right? Yeah, I'm just kidding. I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys have made it this far, I am gonna sign off and let the rest of this video play out. Like I said, if you guys enjoyed, hit like, sub if you're new. If you already subbed, I love you and I appreciate you so much. And I will see you guys for the next video or stream. Peace out.